My fellow Americans, tonight I'd like to talk with you about immigration. For more than 200 years, our tradition of welcoming immigrants from around the world has given us a tremendous advantage over other nations. It's kept us youthful, dynamic, and entrepreneurial. It has shaped our character as a people with limitless possibilities. People not trapped by our past, but able to remake ourselves as we choose. But today, our immigration system is broken, and everybody knows it. Families who enter our country the right way and play by the rules watch others flout the rules. Business owners who offer their workers good wages and benefits see the competition exploit undocumented immigrants by paying them far less. All of us take offense to anyone who reaps the rewards of living in America without taking on the responsibilities of living in America. And undocumented immigrants who desperately want to embrace those responsibilities see little option but to remain in the shadows or risk their families being torn apart. It's been this way for decades. And for decades, we haven't done much about it. When I took office, I committed to fixing this broken immigration system. And I began by doing what I could to secure our borders. Today, we have more agents and technology deployed to secure our southern border than at any time in our history. And over the past 6 years, illegal border crossings have been cut by more than half. Although this summer there was a brief spike in unaccompanied children being apprehended at our border, I have the legal authority to take, as president, the same kinds of actions taken by Democratic and Republican presidents before me that will help make our immigration system more fair and more just. Tonight, I'm announcing those actions. First, we'll build on our progress at the border with additional resources for our law enforcement personnel so that they can stem the flow of illegal crossings and speed the return of those who do cross over. Second, I'll make it easier and faster for high-skilled immigrants, graduates, and entrepreneurs to stay and contribute to our economy, as so many business leaders have proposed. Third, we'll take steps to deal responsibly with the millions of undocumented immigrants who already live in our country. I want to say more about this third issue because it generates the most passion and controversy. Even as we are a nation of immigrants, we're also a nation of laws. Undocumented workers broke our immigration laws, and I believe that they must be held accountable, especially those who may be dangerous. That's why over the past 6 years, deportations of criminals are up 80%. And that's why we're going to keep focusing enforcement resources on actual threats to our security. Felons, not families. Criminals, not children. Gang members, not a mom who's working hard to provide for her kids. We'll prioritize, just like law enforcement does every day. But even as we focus on deporting criminals, the fact is millions of immigrants in every state, of every race and nationality, still live here illegally. And let's be honest, tracking down, rounding up, and deporting millions of people isn't realistic. Anyone who suggests otherwise isn't being straight with you. It's also not who we are as Americans. After all, most of these immigrants have been here a long time. They work hard, often in tough, low-paying jobs. They support their families. They worship at our churches. Many of their kids are American-born or spent most of their lives here. And their hopes, dreams, and patriotism are just like ours. As my predecessor, President Bush, once put it, they are a part of American life. Now, here's the thing. We expect people who live in this country to play by the rules. We expect that those who cut the line will not be unfairly rewarded. So we're going to offer the following deal. If you've been in America for more than 5 years, if you have children who are American citizens or legal residents, if you register, pass a criminal background check, and you're willing to pay your fair share of taxes, you'll be able to apply to stay in this country temporarily without fear of deportation. You can come out of the shadows and get right with the law.
The Obama administration just announced a massive executive action. It's going to protect about 4 million unauthorized immigrants from deportation, and it's going to let them work legally in the U.S. Since 9/11, the number of deportations has risen drastically. Since President Obama came into office, there have been about 400,000 deportations every single year. But we're not going to deport all 11 million unauthorized immigrants. So given that choices have to get made about who gets deported and who doesn't, the administration has decided that it doesn't make sense to deport people who have lived in the U.S. for several years, who have not committed crimes, and who have families here that they need to take care of. For the last decade or so, the unauthorized immigrant population has been really well settled in the U.S. As of 2013, almost 2/3 of unauthorized adults had been here for 10 years or more, and at least 4 million have children who are U.S. citizens. Those are the people who the Obama administration has decided to protect with this new action. These protections already apply to a group of younger unauthorized immigrants called Dreamers because they would have benefited from the DREAM Act. We know that Republicans are extremely angry about this. There are lots of pro-immigration enforcement people out there who say that there should really be a threat of random deportation on any individual unauthorized immigrant. But it is not legitimate to say that it's somehow illegal for the president to decide who to deport and who not to deport. Plenty of presidents have done that in the past. George H.W. Bush gave similar protections to family members of people who were going to become U.S. citizens. It was a smaller number of people, but about an equal percentage of the unauthorized population. This won't give anyone official legal status, and it won't put anyone on a path to citizenship. Only Congress can do that. But it allows them to apply for something that promises they won't be deported for 3 years, apply for a work permit, and millions of families will know for sure, for the first time in years, that they won't be torn apart.
In the meantime, tonight, we turn to a flashpoint reignited in America tonight over this question. Should they stay or should they go? The Supreme Court today blocking the president's plan to allow 5 million undocumented immigrants to get legal status and keep them from being deported. Outside the court, runners with the decision just after it was handed down today. It was summed up in just one sentence from a divided court. Demonstrators on both sides and this boy wearing a shirt reading, "Don't deport my mom." Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump immediately jumping into this with very different views tonight. As the president declared today, Americans will decide this in November. ABC's Jonathan Karl is at the Supreme Court.
Yes, we can!
Protests over that stinging defeat for the president. The president had tried to provide legal status for millions with the stroke of a pen, mostly undocumented immigrants who are the parents of citizens. But the gridlocked Supreme Court said no, leaving in place a lower court ruling that said the president had exceeded the power of his office. The president's reaction? Disappointment.
We're going to have to decide whether we're people who accept the cruelty of ripping children from their parents' arms, or whether we actually value families and keep them together for the sake of all of our communities.
Donald Trump had an entirely different reaction, saying in a statement, today's 4-4 Supreme Court ruling has blocked one of the most unconstitutional actions ever undertaken by a president. Immigration has been a central campaign theme since day one.
I will build a great, great wall on our southern border, and I will have Mexico pay for that wall. Mark my words.